Hello everybody. So, first things first, I have a few announcements. I recently started college, online of course, which means that I have less time to put into videos. I have to focus more on college. So, I am going to be changing the format. You saw this format in the Cancer Against Universe review, where it's less scripted, more laid back, less edited, less produced, and hopefully that will save a lot of time where I will be able to put out videos every week. I will still, every once in a while, throw in maybe like a 24 Ways video, or Does It Still Hold Up, or something like that, but mostly it'll be these more laid back videos, and I'm hoping to do rankings, like a lot of like ranking videos, and some reviews, like I think when The Mandalorian Season 2, the first episode comes out, I'll review the first episode. Yeah, so at least for this semester, I'll just be doing these more laid-back, less scripted videos. And my second announcement is that I recently turned 18 years old. So to honor this occasion, I decided, I got this idea from a Sean Chandler video that he made a few years ago, and also a video that basically Star Wars made a few months ago, where I tell you my favorite movie from each of the 18 years that I have been alive. Enjoy. Alright, so to clarify, you know, I'm not saying my favorite movie in that year, like, I'm not saying my favorite movie when I was a baby in 2002, because I was a baby, so I didn't have a favorite movie. So I'm saying my favorite movie that came out in that year. I don't really think that needed explaining, but maybe it needed explaining to somebody, so if you needed that explanation, there you go. Alright, starting off the list with 2002 Spider-Man. This movie is, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man. A lot of people say that Spider-Man 2 is better, but I don't know, I like this one a whole lot more. I love the origin, and it's so great, and it really kicked off the Marvel movie kick that's been in for the last 20 years. It really kicked that off. Like, I guess X-Men kind of kicked it off, but this one really, like, where, like, the X-Men didn't, like, lean too much into, like, the campiness of the comics. Like, they make the joke, like, oh, would you rather yellow spandex? And, like, this one, it has the yellow spandex. I mean, it's not yellow spandex, it's, you know, the Spider-Man costume, but, like, it leans into that, the campiness of the comics like that, and that's why I really love this movie. And it's also, I think, the first superhero movie I ever saw, and it's really the reason why I love Spider-Man. It's the reason why Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. Anyway, moving on to 2003 with Elf. Elf is such an amazing movie. I think, in my opinion, it's the best Christmas movie. It may even be the best movie of all time. I mean, it's just so hilarious. It's the movie that it's my family's movie. Like, it's the movie that we quote all the time. My whole family can quote the entire movie. I mean, I'm gonna take this time to show a few of my family's favorite quotes from the movie.
I mean, parents couldn't do that all in one night. What about Santa's cookies? I suppose parents eat them too? Does someone need a hug? Looks like a Christmas tree. Oh, I forgot to give you a hug. I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite. 6-inch ribbon curls, honey.
That's impossible.
6 inches.
We elves try to stick to the 4 main food groups. Candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
He loves the snow. He's told me 15 times.
I painted a picture of a butterfly. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Well, what about this? A tribe of asparagus children, but they're self-conscious about the way their pee smells.
He's an angry elf.
And his best idea is about a peach that lives on a farm. What's more vulnerable than a peach?
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Oh, that was weird. You know, usually you guys just, put my name in the Jingle Bells or something.
Yeah, this is a great movie. I mean, just, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is hilarious. of course, it's my pick for 2003. Moving on to 2004, Spider-Man 2. So, even though I said that I think that Spider-Man from 2002, Spider-Man 1 is better, I think that this is still an amazing movie. I mean, it has everything you want from a superhero movie. It has the conflict between the superhero side and the normal side, you know. And then they do the Spider-Man No More plotline, which I love, and the the raindrops are falling on my head scene is just, it's great. It is such a great movie. I mean, if it wasn't for Spider-Man, this would definitely be my favorite movie. If it wasn't for Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 would be my favorite movie. My favorite superhero movie. Anyway, moving on to 2005, Revenge of the Sith. Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. I mean, what can you say about this? This is just such... It's so great. I love this movie. It's the best of the prequels. Like, the prequels get a lot of hate, but I think people unanimously love this movie. They're like, this is the good prequel. I mean, they have so many quotable moments in this movie. The battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin is, I think, my favorite battle of all the Star Wars movies. It's just really great, and it's pretty high up on my ranking of Star Wars movies in general, so yeah, it's great, it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Then, moving on to 2006 with the Pink Panther. This is, you know, Elf is my family's, like, favorite movies, the one that we quote the most, but right one notch down at the second best, the second favorite is the Pink Panther. Like, we probably quote this movie almost as much as Elf. So, I'm just gonna take this time to just show some of our favorite quotes from the Pink Panther.
It is lovely weather we are having. I hope the weather continues.
Do you know if the killer was a man or a woman?
Well, of course I know that. What else is there? A kitten? Not open door when light is flashing.
I'm glad he's pushing up daisies.
He is not pushing up daisies. He is dead.
It's an idiom.
You, sir, as an idiom.
I would like to buy a hamburger.
I would like to buy a hamburger. Newspapers! I have in my pocket a couple of adverts. What?
Nothing?
You didn't say, stop the car. Dear God, I beg of you, stop the car?
No.
This is such a great movie, and it gets a lot of hate for some reason, and I don't know why. I mean, I guess people are really trying to, like, they're comparing it to the Peter Sellers version, which I think is wrong to do, because this is really its own thing, and if you look at it in its own right, it is amazing, it is hilarious, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's great. I love it. Anyway, I'm gonna try to, from now on, try to not end these by saying, I love this movie so much, it's great, I love it, blah blah blah. Like, I'm gonna try to, you know, give a better ending to these, but, yeah, so, moving on to 2007 with Enchanted. This movie was probably on repeat in my house for my entire childhood, and I apologize to my parents for that, but I mean, it's a great movie anyway. I mean, I love how they, like, go back and forth. They can, like, merge the animation, the animated part of it with the live action part of it, which I feel like isn't done enough in movies. Like, I love that when you could, you know, they go back and forth between it, and sometimes they, like, merge the two in some scenes, and that's one of the things that I really love about this movie, plus it's just a great story, and I'm gonna try to figure out a way to end talking about this movie without saying that I love it, but I really do love this movie, and there's been talks for like a few years about them making a sequel to it, and it just keeps not happening. I really want them to make a sequel to this movie. Like, if they really actually make a sequel to this, that would be probably the best thing ever, and yeah, so this is a great movie. Moving on to 2008 with the one and only Iron Man. Dun, 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 dun. I love this movie so much. It's, I love the MCU, and this is the start of the MCU, so, in that sense, I kind of have to love it, but it's really so good. I love these kind of movies where, you have the change from, you can see the change in the main character growth, where, Tony Stark is, real jerk, snarky jerk, narcissistic rich guy. By the end of it, he's maybe not fully selfless, he's not fully where he gets to in Endgame, but, he's a better person, he's a superhero. And this movie, it came out in 2008, and people are still talking about it. People are still, talking about how great it is. It's still, even among, the MCU movies that have come after it, among movies like Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, I just named the 4 movies made by the Russo brothers, which are the best, arguably, I think, the best of the MCU movies. This one is right up there with those. And it's the first MCU movie, and it still holds up against what has come after it. Plus, it has probably the greatest and most iconic ending of any movie ever.
I am Iron Man.
Moving on to 2009 with Up. Up. The movie that made everybody cry in the theaters within the first 10 minutes. It is a great movie, of course it makes you cry at the beginning, but then it gets more lighthearted, and it's a nice, heartwarming, upbeat film, and, minus the beginning of it, but it's really great. There's not much more I can say about it. If you haven't seen it, if you've seen it, you know why I have it as my favorite movie, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is an amazing movie. Moving on to 2010 with Toy Story 3. The perfect ending to the Toy Story trilogy. At least for 9 years. It really is the greatest ending to the Toy Story trilogy. This closes out the Andy part of the Toy Story movies. This closes out that era of Toy Story where, it has the saddest ending of any Toy Story movie, when Andy's giving his toys to Bonnie, and then when he sees Woody at the bottom of it, and he's not wanting to give Woody away, but he ends up... It's just... It makes me tear up. Plus, I'm in that stage of my life now, the same stage that Andy was in that movie. I wasn't at the time of watching, and now I am, and... yeah, it hits home. So, of course, it is my favorite movie from 2010. Then, moving on to 2011, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, I kinda just picked this because I didn't want to pick Captain America: The First Avenger, and I forgot to mention, but in this list, I wanted to limit the amount of MCU movies I put on the list, because otherwise, after 2008, it would probably just be the MCU movie from that year, so I kinda wanted to give more variation, so I didn't want to pick Captain America: The First Avenger for this year, so I put Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And, I don't know, I can't really talk about this movie that much because I haven't seen it recently enough to be able to talk about it a lot. I remember, there's a scene where Ethan Hunt is climbing up the Burj Khalifa with the gloves and they're malfunctioning, and he's falling down, and then, that's one of the greatest Mission Impossible scenes. I love that. It's great. It is, I think, it's my favorite Mission Impossible movie. I can't really, like I said, I haven't seen this recently enough to be able to talk about this a lot. I don't really remember the main plot of it, but, it's still, I remember really liking it, and I wish I would have rewatched it more times, but, because I remember really liking it, so, yeah, that's really all I can say about Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Then, moving on to 2012, The Avengers. Okay, so, like I said before, I wanted to limit the amount of MCU movies I put on the list, and I knew that I had to put this because this really is one of the most iconic MCU movies. There really is something special about that first time where they team up, where the Avengers team up, and it was a movie that a lot of people, before it came out, thought it wouldn't work. Like, how could you have all these heroes in the same movie? How could you put them all together and teaming up, all this crossover? How did you do that? And it ended up working. It ended up completely working. They figured it out how to do it, and they've done it ever since. And it is amazing that people thought that this wouldn't work. It's hilarious to think back to then that this wouldn't work, that people thought this wouldn't work. Also, the final battle, one of the greatest final battles of the MCU, one of the most iconic final battles of the MCU, and of course, Avengers has to be my favorite movie of 2012. Moving on to 2013 with Frozen. The cold never bothered me anyway. I apologize for that little outburst there. Anyway, this is one of the most surprising Disney movies of ever, I think. This is like, I didn't expect this movie to be what it was, to be as great as it was. I didn't see the Hans reveal happening, and it's one of those movies like Enchanted, which I actually forgot to talk about when I was talking about Enchanted, where it flips the fairy tale tropes on their head, and it's a movie where like it doesn't just flip the fairy tale tropes on their head once, but it does it multiple times in the third act. They have, the prince is the evil one, and then they have, the true act of true love isn't true love's kiss, it's actually sisterly love. And it's, that's the kind of stuff throughout this movie, especially in the third act, that they do that just makes this movie so great. Then, moving on to 2014 with the Lego Movie. This is another one of those movies where I did not expect it to be what it was. It is such an hilarious movie, it is extremely self-aware, but it also has an important theme about how everybody can be special if they believe that they are. It's not, some overarching, prophecy or something that makes you special. And that's the sort of stuff that I really love when movies can do is, like I said, Canceled Universe did that as well, which is why I love that, where, they can balance the hilarious self-aware moments with, serious themes, and not make it feel weird, like, have weird tonal shifts. It all works, and it's great when a movie can do that. And the Lego Movie does that perfectly. Then, moving on to 2015, none other than Fan Four Stick. This movie, it is amazing, it stays true to the comics, I know there was, a bit of, weird stuff, they had to do reshoots and stuff, but, you can't tell, it's not obvious that, there's a clear break, in the film where they jump, where you see where, they cut some stuff out. It works smoothly, the villain is a great villain, I love the villain, and, yeah, I'm kidding, this is garbage. Yeah, I can't, this movie is complete garbage. Okay, my actual pick for 2015 is The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, the movie that tricked us all into thinking that they actually had a plan for the sequel trilogy. In my opinion, this is the best Star Wars movie. It gets a lot of hate because, it's a lot like A New Hope, people say it's too much like A New Hope, but I think that actually works to its advantage, because what it is a movie that is bringing you back into the Star Wars universe after 10 years, so it's nice to see something familiar, and it's also nice that, in my opinion, I think they improved on the story of A New Hope, because one of the things that I never really liked about A New Hope is that they don't have a final lightsaber duel at the end, like, it's the final battle is just the X-Wings trying to shoot the lasers into the exhaust port, which in and of itself is a plot hole. I don't know, I just felt like that wasn't as interesting as if they would have had Luke battle Darth Vader in a lightsaber duel. And The Force Awakens does that. It has that final lightsaber battle between first Finn and Kylo Ren, and then Rey and Kylo Ren. And it does that while they're doing the, blowing up the Death Star, the Simon Starkiller base thing, which I'll admit, I do kind of wish that they didn't do that plot line, that they would have found something else. Yeah, so I think because they have the lightsaber duel between Rey and Kylo Ren at the end, I think that it is a better story than A New Hope. Moving on to 2016 with Rogue One. I think that this is the second best movie of Disney buying Star Wars. I think The Force Awakens is the best movie. This one is a very close second best. This movie, it obviously, fixes the weird plot hole or the weirdness of, there being an exhaust port in the Death Star. But it also is a good story in it of its own. It's the story of the opening crawl of A New Hope. And I think it really, really nicely, goes into A New Hope. Like, it ends right, pretty much exactly where A New Hope starts. And the Darth Vader hallway scene, that is the most epic scene in all of Star Wars, I think. Like, that is amazing. There's really no words to describe it. It is awesome. And moving on to 2017 with Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Nick Jonas, and Karen Gillan. How could you go wrong with this movie? You can't. You can't go wrong with that. What this movie really does well is balancing between, being a reboot / sequel / something completely different to the 1995 Jumanji. And normally when, you do something like that, where you kind of, let's be honest, it's a movie that's really only a sequel by name. Normally when you do that, it comes out terrible. You're like, oh man, that was awful. But this is somehow better than the 1995 Jumanji. And I don't know how they did it. It's so hilarious, it's so rewatchable, it's so great. I really can't say anything more. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is amazing. Then, moving on to 2018, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, I do want to mention that I think my actual pick would probably be Avengers Infinity War, but, again, I wanted to limit the amount of MCU movies, so, I could put the next one on the list. You could probably guess what it is. So, I picked Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which, I'm not even sure that it isn't higher than an Avengers Infinity War. It is a really great Spider-Man movie, and it weirdly relies on the fact that you've watched all the others for it to be so great. And it's just, of course it does what I love, where, it has the very self-aware moments mixed with the very serious themes of, taking a leap of faith, and that, anybody can wear the mask. Kind of has a new meaning in 2020, everybody can wear the mask, but, plus it really does a good job at introducing general audiences to Miles Morales, because, obviously, if you haven't, if you're not big into comic books, or, you're not a big nerd, you may not know about Miles Morales, so they do a good job of getting people who don't know about Miles Morales introduced to Miles Morales. And then we've gone to 2019, Avengers Endgame. This movie is probably the greatest form of fan service ever. And it works on every single level. It's so great. I'm sorry I keep saying that for all these films, but this one, I mean, it is the culmination of everything that the MCU has been going towards. A lot of people are kind of not really overly fond of them using time travel in this movie, but I mean, I love time travel movies, so, I mean, MCU, time travel, how could I not love this movie? The final battle, you know, it has so many callbacks to the rest of the MCU, you know, hitting it off with Captain America catching Mjolnir, the most epic moment in all of movie history, I think. The moment that made everybody in the theater jump out of their seats in excitement. And then you have, of course, at the end of the final battle, the saddest moment of the entire MCU, but also the culmination of everything with Tony snapping, "I am Iron Man." That is such a great moment, such an iconic moment. It calls back to, like I said when I was talking about Iron Man, with the iconic ending where he says, "I am Iron Man." And it's the greatest ending of anything. I think it's the greatest ending of anything, you know? So, fan service, culmination of the Infinity Saga, greatest ending to anything ever, Cap catching Mjolnir, all spells out favorite movie from 2019. There you go. And then, finally, 2020. I'm gonna be honest with you, this year it was hard to pick just because of the limited amount of movies this year, because, you know, the pandemic that shall not be named. So, you know, I kind of, you know, just had to pick the one movie I've seen. Oh, wait a second. Okay, I just realized something. So, I was gonna say Onward, but then I realized that Candace Against the Universe came out a few weeks ago, and I did a review on it, and I realized that, how could I not say that that is my favorite movie? So yeah, Candace Against the Universe is my favorite movie of 2019. Again, like I said multiple times in this video, you know, it does the thing that I love, where, you know, it perfectly balances the self-awareness, and then it can go right into serious themes, and, you know, it perfectly balances the two different tones, and it really does a good job. It, like, brings me back to my childhood of watching Phineas and Ferb. Yeah, it just does everything I love from a movie, and mixed with another thing that I love, which is Phineas and Ferb. So that is why it's my favorite movie of 2020. Also, if you want to hear me talk about more about it, you can watch my review of it up there. Now, I do want to talk about Onward, because that was what I was going to say, and this is one of those, it was a weird movie because, you know, remember the trailer came out and everybody was like, oh, this doesn't seem like Pixar, and then the movie, they had it in theaters and they put it on Disney Plus after, you know, lockdown happened, and that's where I watched it, on Disney Plus, and it really is a Pixar film. Like, when you watch the movie, you really get the sense of it being a Pixar movie. It has what every Pixar movie has, you know, with the balance of, you know, jokes and animation and, you know, for kids on that side, with the, you know, really emotional, serious themes on the other side that Pixar really does a good job with. And that is why I was going to pick it for this year until Candace Against the Universe came out. Anyway, that is my list of my favorite movies from each of the 18 years that I've been alive. Also, comment below suggestions on, you know, what I can improve with this new format that's less scripted, less, you know, more laid-back format. You know, if there's anything that you were like, you know, maybe you want to change that a little bit, maybe you want to do this, I don't know. So if you have any suggestions for that, Also, if you have any suggestions for rankings and reviews I could do, leave those below. And remember to like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos. And with that said, that's a wrap.